Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Experts, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday without fail. We have pushed today's back slightly because we have the inflation data announcement in 21 minutes time. Until then, we are going to be running through the latest cryptocurrency news. When we get a little bit closer to 1:30 BST time, we'll be running through what we're expecting with the inflation data, what impacts it can have on the price of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market, and then we'll continue with today's stream and do some Bitcoin analysis as time goes on as well. So it's going to be a very eventful live stream. I love doing these live streams when we've got some news waiting to come. It should be a good one. Let's see what's happening in the chat right now. Everybody's saying hello. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I've got my green juice ready, giving me all the energy we need to trade Bitcoin correctly. Hopefully see some nice movements today on the stream. It's going to be, as I said, a very exciting one. Let's take a look at the current price of Bitcoin here. Let's refresh the page on cryptosavingexpert.com. We are at $25,930, down at 0.71% in the last 24 hours. We have Ethereum here at 1,741, so down 1.6% in the last 24 hours. So we have seen a little bit of negative movement there, but really we are all waiting to see what this data is. So we will be keeping a close eye on this and we will be discussing what's going to happen then. But first of all, let's get on with the cryptocurrency news. We should talk about regulation first today, and then we'll get onto the inflation data. Before we continue, please don't forget to smash the like button. We're only 3 minutes in and we've already got 10 likes on today's stream. So please make sure, if you haven't already, to like today's video. Let's try and get to 30 likes if possible in today's stream. We're going to be on here for a while, so get comfy, get a cup of tea, get a coffee, and get ready for action. Let's take a look at this one. We know this is going to be a volatile week in cryptocurrency. We discussed this article yesterday. If you want to know what else is coming this week in cryptocurrency, head over to this article. I will drop it in the live chat of today's stream. Oh, I've just messed that up. I don't think I can right now. So why this week could be huge for crypto. We are seeing, obviously, the inflation data today. We are getting interest news tomorrow. We are also going to see what's happening with the SEC's emergency motion to freeze Binance.US's funds. Today, we are going to be talking about CZ's response to this and how it could really stop cryptocurrency growth in the US. Binance's CZ, the CEO of Binance, has tweeted an article today that suggests that he believes this SEC are just going to stop crypto in the US, but they can't stop crypto overall. Cryptocurrency is still going to grow. They're just stifling growth in the US, which is going to be a problem for the US regulators in the long term. It's an absolute mess in the US right now in terms of cryptocurrency regulation. Let's take a look at what is going on here. We'll come back to the inflation news in a second. So, are we going to get rid of Gary Gensler? I think this is all what we want to do. Let me know in the chat. Give a big thumbs up if you want Gary Gensler fired. Let's take a look at what is happening in this article. Now, we have had a draft bill. I was saying this last week, I believe it was. Last week, prior to Binance and Coinbase being sued, there was so much positivity about regulation in the US. The weekend before, we had a draft bill that was suggesting that we had actually got clarity on how to determine whether a commodity is a security. Now, a few weeks before that, we had a draft bill that suggested that we get rid of Gary Gensler as the chairman of the SEC, and instead we have a board of directors, essentially, and anybody that has been a chairman in the past could not be on this board. So what this means, if we don't have one person determining the future of cryptocurrency, we don't have Gary Gensler in any of the decisions, and we have this team of people at the top who can all vote on decisions. So this was a really important draft bill that was really positive for the cryptocurrency space. Now, if we take a look at this article, we can see here, let me zoom in for you guys so you can see it a bit clearer. The proposed SEC Stabilization Act could remove Gary Gensler and restructure the SEC. So this is the same thing here. So they've today announced their introduction of the SEC Stabilization Act, which proposes restructuring the SEC and removing Gary Gensler as chairman. Give us a big like if you want this to happen. This is something that we have been waiting for in the cryptocurrency space. There's a huge debate going on right now with what can happen with the future of cryptocurrency. In the US, if anything, are just falling more and more behind the longer that Gary Gensler is chairman of the SEC. So let's take a look at this. Warren Davidson announced the bill on Tuesday, along with the statement, US capital markets must be protected from a tyrannical chairman, including the current one. That's why I'm introducing legislation to fix the ongoing abuse of power and ensure protection that is the best interest of the market for years to come. It's time for real reform and to fire Gary Gensler as chair of the SEC. So to give a little bit of understanding of why we don't like Gary Gensler right now, is that Coinbase have been asking for clarity on regulation for years. Now, the problem is that we can't identify clearly whether a cryptocurrency asset is a security or a commodity because the framework to determine if what category an asset fits into is not clear. And it was created in 1946. That's called the Howey test. It's just not clear. And the Coinbase have been crying out for clarity on this, saying, help us determine which ones of these digital assets are commodities and which ones are securities so we can operate correctly in the region. In fact, Coinbase actually created their own framework because the regulators just weren't doing so, and Coinbase shared their own framework to determine whether it's suitable for them to list a token on the exchange or not, and they've shared that framework with the SEC, and the SEC have had Coinbase's framework prior to them launching as a public company. So the SEC, they did their due diligence on Coinbase as a company. They said, yeah, this company's fine. It's a safe investment. That can become a public company. They can have an IPO. So they can be listed on the stock exchange. The SEC did all of this due diligence and they agreed that it was fine to go ahead. Now, the whole time, the SEC knew exactly the steps that Coinbase took to decide whether they should list a token or not, whether it was a commodity or not. Because the SEC weren't providing that framework, Coinbase provided their own framework and shared that with the SEC. So Coinbase have known how they make all of these decisions all along. Now, Coinbase haven't changed this framework since they launched and had an IPO. And the SEC have not changed the regulation for years and years and years. That's one of the problems. So everybody's looking at this and saying, how can this happen? How can they be sued when nothing has changed? Now, Coinbase is saying the same. They've been crying out for clarity. They've had petitions trying to get clarity, and they have not got it. It just does not make sense. Now, we're saying here that people are saying he's regulating by enforcement rather than providing that clarity and allowing the cryptocurrency industry to grow. He is just saying, do you know what? I'm going to sue you, you, and you. And we all need to work out for ourselves what these people have done, what these projects have done in order for Gary Gensler to determine that they are securities now. So that is what is happening in the US. It is absolute chaos. And this is why we need clarity. We need a board of people to help make these decisions. And we just need to understand why they have made these decisions, because these cryptocurrency companies like Binance, like Coinbase, they are not trying to be sued. They want as many users as possible. The more users they have, the more revenue they make. Now, how do they get users? They create a presence in the markets. They don't want people outside of crypto to look at them and say, oh no, I don't trust them. They were sued by regulators. I want to stay well away from them. They want to bring on new users into the cryptocurrency space. And to do so, they try and follow regulation. But if the regulation isn't clear, it's incredibly hard to follow. Now, that can be said for Coinbase. Obviously, Binance have these extra accusations on top of that. So Coinbase is being sued purely on the fact that it's selling unregistered securities, but only specific tokens have been has been categorized as securities during this filing, essentially. And for Binance, they've got the extra problems of the differences between Binance.us and Binance.com and how they have been processing funds between the two. And that's a whole different story. We will be getting onto that in just a second. But this is the debate that's being had right now. I'm feeling very passionate about this one. If you do like this stream, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We've got 12 minutes until the US inflation data, so let's continue about the regulation, and then we'll get on to discuss the outcome of what could happen in the next few minutes. It's an exciting stream, this one. So we can see here that we are waiting to see if we can get Gary Gensler out and we can have this new structure instead that you can see in this photo. So the bill outlines a new structure for the SEC, removing the current head Gary Gensler and distributing power among a new body of commissioners. An additional commissioner position would be added to the 5 already in place. An executive director would then be appointed to organize daily SEC activities. Now, this would be really, really helpful. So the commissioners would be responsible for making rules, investigations and enforcements, and the positions would have staggered terms of 6 years. The bill also ensures that no one political party controls more than 3 of the 6 commissioner seats. Now, Tom Emmer has stated he is supporting the bill. We all know he is pro-crypto. The bill follows closely after another Republican senator filed a bill that, if passed, would prevent decentralized crypto assets from being classed as securities and move control over the regulation. So that is what we were talking about, just a minute ago. So there was that draft bill created 2 weekends ago now, I believe, that was really saying these are the rules for cryptocurrency assets specifically. If an asset meets these conditions, it is a commodity. If it doesn't, it is a security. And that was just creating a new Howey test essentially, but for cryptocurrency assets. So currently we determine whether an asset is a commodity or a security based on the Howey test, which was created in 1946. And this basically says, if the asset is controlled by a central authority and if it generates profits through the efforts of others, then it is a security. I mean, it's a bit more technical than that. I don't know it word for word. But there's 4 conditions, and that is the Howey test. And that was created in 1946. Now, that worked perfectly for the assets at that time. But now we have digital assets. It's a whole different ballgame, and we need an updated version of this regulation. Let's take a look at the next article here and see what else is going on. So we are still talking about Binance here. We need to discuss this. When we get to about 25 past, we'll be discussing what's going on with US inflation and the impact it could have on Bitcoin. But let's try and get through the regulation stuff first, and then we've got some more good stuff coming after as well. So liquidity on Binance.us plunges as market makers exit in droves. So market makers are people that continuously buy and sell assets with very small margins, but when they do it over and over again, they make a huge amount of money, and they provide liquidity for the market as well. Now, we've seen in Binance Australia, market makers starting to leave the Australian affiliate of Binance because of the banks saying they don't want to work with the company anymore. And now we are seeing the same in the US. So market makers are vacating Binance.us with liquidity on major cryptocurrencies dwindling on the exchange. Now, this is obviously a massive problem. The lack of liquidity means that the prices can be influenced much faster. But we are going to keep an eye on this. Market makers are wary ahead of this double blow to Binance's US entity and are removing liquidity from the exchange's order books in anticipation of a possible freeze. No trader wants to get caught with their assets stuck on an exchange. This is the fear right now, and this is why we always say, take your money off centralized exchanges. Have custody of your own funds, not your keys, not your crypto. It is that simple. We are seeing alarm bells being raised right now. I mean, for those of you that were in the markets in November 2022 when we saw FTX collapse, that was enough of a warning for us. It does happen, and we see it happen over and over again. So we just need to be incredibly careful and just stay on the safe side. We don't know what's going to happen here, and we just need to be incredibly careful. Now, I know centralized exchanges are very useful. I still use centralized exchanges pretty often. They provide extra benefits to a decentralized, holding your wallets in a self-custody wallet. It's more easy. It's just more user-friendly. There's lots of other benefits. So I do take advantage of both, but for my long-term holdings, I always store them somewhere safer, hardware wallets, things like that. Just be incredibly careful in a time like this. I mean, we can't say we haven't been warned of something like this happens, so just be careful here. Before we continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button, and don't forget to leave a comment down below as well. It really helps the algorithm. We are trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we really need your help to do so. We are on these live streams every single weekday, talking about what's going on in the markets, explaining this all to you so that you can understand this. And I always say the best way to get into crypto and to learn more about the industry is just staying up to date with the latest crypto news. Honestly, because you'll learn what's going on in the markets, you'll learn how the markets react to different things, and you'll just start to get involved, understand the lingo a little bit better, and it just becomes so much easier. And that's what I did when I got involved, and that is why we create these live streams for you guys, so you can get involved in the same way too. Also, if you're more of a reader, you like to read through the articles yourself, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com, the best cryptocurrency outlet out there. We've got cryptocurrency news, guides, courses, market data, and the encyclopedia there as well. And we've got so much more stuff coming. And we've had a Teams call this morning brainstorming lots of ideas. You should see the amount of ideas we created on that list. We are never going to stop building this website. It is amazing. A one-stop shop for crypto, to say the least. Let's take a look anyway what's going on with Binance and the request to freeze assets. And then when we get to 25 past, it will be time to look at the US inflation data. So Binance.us disputes SEC's request to freeze assets, saying it would end its business. So the SEC have requested to freeze Binance US's assets. Now, I would like to point out that this is Binance US. This is not Binance.com. These are two separate entities, or at least that's what they're supposed to be. So attorneys for Binance.us filed an opposition pleading against the SEC's request to freeze its assets. So we can see here that they've asked the court to deny the request as no facts have come to light that warrants emergency relief sought by the SEC. Now, in the court filing, the attorneys for Binance US stated that the draconian and unduly burdensome request by the SEC would effectively end the exchange's operations if granted. So we can see here operations would quickly grind to a halt and BAM would be unable to even fund its defense to this action. With a freeze of all corporate assets, banking partners would most likely cease to honor requests to transfer funds for any purpose, including customer redemptions. So shortly after the SEC lawsuit, Binance.us informed users that it would suspend USD payments as its banking partners had already begun cutting ties with the exchange amid the legal battles. That means using Binance.us as a fiat on and off ramp has been suspended in the US. So the SEC presented its motion against, based on the claim that Binance misused customers' funds and commingled assets. So the fears here, as I spoke earlier in today's stream, we have the battle between the SEC and Coinbase and Binance about their assets being securities or not, but Binance has been sued on another level as well, because they've been accused of mixing funds between Binance.com and Binance US, and also they've been accused of allowing high profile and high value clients in the US, allowing them to get access to Binance.com, which has extra features because it's not subject to US regulation. So there's a big problem here. Binance lawyers disputed the claim, saying the SEC had presented no evidence that BAM did anything inappropriate involving customer assets before or after it was charged. Now, Binance maintains that customers' assets are safe. They are trying to fight against the SEC. They have been saying that they tried to solve this and resolve this behind closed doors, but they believe that the SEC just wanted to get in the headlines, and that is exactly what they have done. Now, we're getting too close to 1:30 to finish up this news. It's time to take a look at what is going on. We have the inflation data to come here. So Bitcoin could still dip to $24,000, even with low US inflation data for May. So let's take a look at what's happening here. Now, we all know inflation hit an all-time high, not an all-time high, a COVID high of 9.1% back in June 2022. We have now come down to 4.9 last month, and today we are finding out the inflation data from May. So this is year-on-year inflation data. So this is the inflation from May 2022 to May 2023. Now let's take a look at what is expected this week. So on Tuesday, today, we will be finding out the inflation data for May, and we can see here that on the 6th of June, the US Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit ordered the SEC to submit a letter. Wait, let's get onto the inflation data quickly. So today at 2 p.m. ET, which is 1:30 p.m. BST time, in 2.5 minutes, the US District Court for the District of Columbia for a temporary restraining. Where are we getting to? Where's the bit about the inflation data today? Am I on the right article? Let me check this. We're on the wrong article here. This one is the one. So we can see here, the general expectation is that May's inflation in the US will be around 4.1%, which is lower than April's, which came in at 4.9%. So taking a look at this, we had 4.9% here, and we're expecting a drop of 0.8% to 4.1%. Now, this is highly anticipated and highly expected. So what could happen here is if it is higher than expected, there may be fears of an interest rate hike tomorrow, because we are getting the interest data tomorrow. Now, if it's lower than expected, there could be hopes that the interest rate is held the same tomorrow, and that would be very, very bullish for the markets. So overall, the cheat sheet for Bitcoin today, we should say, is that I personally would expect if the inflation is at 4.1 or less, it could be good things, because it means interest rates are not going to be hiked tomorrow, or there's a higher probability that interest rates won't be hiked tomorrow, and that's what will be speculated, and therefore bullish things for the markets. If the inflation data is higher than this, then we could expect some interest rate hikes tomorrow, and therefore that's negative for the markets. The markets don't like high interest rates. They don't like high interest rates because high interest rates mean that people have lower cash cash flow, and therefore they can't spend as much money, and they're not investing in risk on assets like Bitcoin. Now we have 1.5 minutes left until we find out this. Let me have some of my green smoothie, get me some energy. Let's see what's in store today. It's 29 minutes past. We're about to find out. As you can see here on the chart, 4.9 last month, and we are hoping for 4.1 this month. It would be a very nice move to the downside here. We all know that the US has a target of getting inflation down to 2%, and that's why they've been having these interest rate hikes that have been massively negatively affecting the markets. But now is the time to tell if these hikes have been successful, and we are going to continue seeing that inflation drop pretty dramatically here. So taking a look at this article while we wait for that news to come in, Tuesday might be different given all the FUD and surrounding Bitcoin and the crypto markets due to the unknown implications of the SEC going after Binance and Coinbase. So we do know that Binance is kind of on its own turf at the moment. It's got its own problems, it's got its own volatility, and it's got its own reasons to have volatility. The lawsuits and the SEC and the regulation in the US is affecting Bitcoin differently to other assets. However, Bitcoin, to be honest, has been holding pretty strong throughout this turbulent time in the last couple of weeks. So I'm pretty impressed by the movements of Bitcoin in the last couple of days. Right, make sure, please, before we continue, to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button. We should get this news through any second, what the US inflation data is. I'm waiting to see what it comes in for. Here we go. US inflation falls to 4%, lower than expectations. Let's take a look at what's happening to Bitcoin right now. The 1 minute candle will be crazy. It always is when the inflation data drops. So it's come in lower than expected, meaning there's a higher probability that we won't get that interest rate hike tomorrow, meaning the markets should typically be feeling very, very bullish. Interest rates mean that high interest rates mean that people can take out less loans, or they've got to pay more interest on those loans. So we have all of these implications and repercussions, and one of those repercussions is that people don't have the money to invest in the stock market into risk on assets like cryptocurrencies. So they are removing their funds from the markets. All of the markets don't like high interest rates. Now we're seeing lower inflation month on month on month. We are seeing positive impacts. We are seeing those interest rate hikes starting to slow down, if not stop. And we are seeing those markets start to react to that and be more bullish because of this. Let's take a look. On the 1 minute chart, Bitcoin is looking incredibly nice there. So 4% CPI in the US. Let's refresh this page here. We can see that in May, we have seen that nice move to the downside. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So in June 2022, we were up to 9.1%. We've seen that nice decline down to 4%. The goal in the US is to get down to 2%, which now, to be honest, just doesn't feel that far away anymore. I mean, 9.1 was absolutely crazy. So it's nice to see that this has started to move to the downside. I know we all want to take a look at the price of Bitcoin. I was expecting more volatility than this, Bitcoin. Come on, you can do better than this. See some more movement here. Before we continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button. It really helps us, it really supports the channel, and the more people that like, comment, subscribe, the more we will show up on other people's feed. And what we want to do is help build the cryptocurrency industry. If you give us a like, we get onto someone else's feed, they watch it, they want to learn more about crypto, we start to drive cryptocurrency adoption, which is what we all want to see. We are currently on 26 likes for today's stream, so thank you very much to every single one of you who has liked today's video. You can see here, Bitcoin just shot all the way up to $26,400. It's now at $26,340. But to say that we started this 3 minutes ago, we were at $26,240. You can see the amount of volatility lower than expected here. We were expecting 4.1%, and we are now sat at 4% for inflation in the US. Definitely a positive thing to see here. We need to keep an eye on this. We are expecting more volatility in the next couple of minutes for cryptocurrency. For Bitcoin, this always happens. In fact, let's take a look at Ethereum and see what else is going on in the markets. Expecting volatility all around here. So if we go to ETH USDT, let's see here on the 1 minute chart, volatility the exact same way that we have seen in Bitcoin, a nice big spike to the upside. We're now just seeing a little bit of a sell-off, but all in all, very positive things, and I expect this will have a nice impact on the stock market as well, because none of us want to see these high interest rates, so it's nice to see these start to come back down again. Let's take a look now. I mean, I want to go back to the cryptocurrency news, but I know a lot of you will just be enjoying enjoying watching Bitcoin be volatile. So let's stay on here for just a minute. Please don't forget there's 35 viewers on the stream right now, only 28 likes, so please make sure to like today's stream. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell notification button as well. And we have lots more cryptocurrency news to discuss today, and then we are going to be analysing the price of Bitcoin. Hopefully when it's calmed down a little bit. It's very volatile right now. Taking a look at the 1 minute chart, looking to retrace that huge spike to the upside. There's still a lot of fear in the cryptocurrency industry right now because of this regulation. There's going to be a volatile week all around. And tomorrow we will be finding out that interest rate, which hopefully today's news will lighten a little bit. But we will be keeping up to date with that, and we will be doing a live stream for that as well. So make sure, if you haven't already, to hit subscribe and press that bell notification button. We do these live streams every single weekday, so make sure not to miss out on the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look anyway what's going on in the cryptocurrency news, and we will come back to the price of Bitcoin. We'll continue to dip in to see what's going on there. So we've discussed these ones. Let's get on to what we haven't discussed yet today. Democrats could lose the 2024 US election due to their war on crypto, says Cameron Winklevoss. And so he's warned that the Democratic Party could lose the 2024 US presidential election due to their war on crypto carried out by the SEC Chair Gary Gensler and Senator Elizabeth Warren. So the regulatory crackdown in the US could become a hot political topic until the 2024 presidential election. Many crypto investors and traders are millennials and Gen Zs who could have the final say for who becomes president in November 2024. Let's take a quick look back at Bitcoin. A little bit of a green candle, then we went back red again. Jerome said CPI below predictions, exactly what we wanted to see today. We have seen, let's get back onto this chart here. So it's come down to 4% from 4.9%. So this means year on year from May 2022 to May 2023, there was only 4% inflation in the US. Now it is still high, but when you think back to June 2022 when it was at 9.1%, we have seen a nice move to the downside. So those interest rate hikes have been working from the US, and we have that target down at 2%. So we are getting closer and closer every time. Let's take a look at the next article here and see. Let's see what else is in the news here. So we have eToro US to suspend trading of Matic, Algo, Mana, and Dash on the 12th of July. Now we have seen that the US SEC have obviously charged many different companies right now. Let's get back onto this article. When they've sued the Coinbase and Binance, they've listed specific cryptocurrency assets as securities, and they've named them as securities. Now, lots of these have fought back. Cardano, ADA have said we're not a security, and so have many other projects as well. But other companies in the US that are offering cryptocurrencies, they're just saying, do you know what, we're not having a part of this. If you've named it as a security, we're unlisting it, because they don't want to get involved in this battle. Now, it seems that the SEC have really targeted crypto-specific companies rather than all of these other companies, eToro, Robinhood, who are offering the exact same tokens. But maybe they are later down the line. Maybe they will get targeted later down the line. But right now, they're all trying to stay on the safe side of the SEC, essentially. Let's take a look at what else is happening here. It's near impossible to know which crypto is a security or not, says Mark Cuban. Now, we all know this, and this is all thanks to Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC. 1 minute he says Ethereum is a security, the 1 minute he won't comment, a commodity, 1 minute he won't comment on it. It's so unclear, it's near impossible, as Mark Cuban has said. He's called out the SEC in a tweet. We're not going to get anywhere with this. We're all saying the same thing here in the cryptocurrency industry. Big players are getting involved in saying the same thing, but they are just not listening to us right now. And the only hopes I really have right now are from that petition from the SEC. Let's take a look at this article that Crypto Saving Expert have just put out today. So US CPI data comes in below forecast at 4%. Taking a look at Bitcoin now, volatility is starting to calm down slightly. Let's get the volume indicator on here to check what's going on. So volume started to slow down again after that volatile few minutes. All in all, even if the price of Bitcoin hasn't moved that much, this is still a positive thing, because this means there's a lower likelihood that we will see those high interest rates again tomorrow. So let's take a look at this article. The US Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, has fallen below expectations, fueling the Federal Reserve's potential pause plans. So what we are hoping for is that we will see a pause in the interest rate hikes, and therefore that would be a positive thing for the markets, not just for crypto, not just for Bitcoin, but for the entire markets, gold, silver, the stock market, everything. Nothing likes to see interest rate hikes. So when we start to see that slow down again, that is really, really positive, and we are going to find out tomorrow. So to stay up to date with that, make sure to like, subscribe, press the bell notification button. 38 viewers currently, only 31 likes. Please make sure to hit that like button. Let's see what else is going on in the world of crypto. I'm sure we have all heard enough about this right now, and that volatility is starting to calm down. If you want to see more about that story, I've put the link in the live chat over on YouTube. If you are following us along on Twitter as well, make sure to come over to the YouTube channel and give us a follow here as well. We do these live streams every single day. Moving on now, though, let's talk about something different for a little bit. So we've just been talking about eToro and how they have unlisted certain tokens, suspended trading of Matic, Algo, Mana, and Dash, and on the 12th of July, we can see here that BNB has started to be affected by these lawsuits as well. So Binance's BNB's $220 and $200 supports are the levels to watch as whales start cashing out. So BNB is in a lot of concern right now. So it's been listed as an unregistered security, and that has prompted a dormant BNB whale to sell $2.3 million of the coin at the $230 price level, and BNB could drop to $220 or the $200 level support if the sale triggers more selling. So whales are looking to dump their BNB in this fearful time. Now, we do need to be careful here if Binance continues to go get targeted by the SEC. Who knows what's in store for BNB? I mean, we were all very big fans of FTX and their token FTT just 6 months ago, and look at us now. So we do need to be cautious with this, and this whale is obviously choosing to sit on the sidelines for this one as this plays out. We have also seen, though, we have some more news about BNB here. Let's find where this is. So we have seen that BNB chain is ready to absorb $204 million liquidation at $220 per BNB as well. So at the same time of having these whales dumping their tokens and putting selling pressure into the market, we have liquidation levels. So BNB chain has said it will take over the position to prevent unnecessary damage to the market. So taking a look at this, the BNB chain ecosystem faces a whopping $204.8 million BNB position that could liquidate on Venus protocol should the price drop below $220. However, the BNB chain team said Monday they would take over the position, saving the fourth largest crypto another pressure point after recent woes due to the regulatory allegations. So let's go over to cryptosavingexpert.com. If we go to the markets tab and we click on BNB right now, it's currently sat at $229 here. So it has seen some volatility. It has seen a strong move to the downside. It did slightly touch that $220 level. Now, this has been used as a level of support in the past in December 2022. So we should be keeping an eye on this one. They have said they are going to support that liquidation level, but nothing's certain here, is it? Nothing is certain at all. You can see we actually had a ascending triangle here. Let's pull this up on TradingView. Just a second. In fact, let's do it on this one instead. BNB USDT. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin quickly. I can't stop looking when we see news like this. Volatility is still in the market. If we take a look at BNB here, and we go onto the daily chart, you can actually see that we're in an ascending wedge prior to this fallout. So if we take a look at this, we had an ascending support there and an ascending resistance. The distance between them was getting smaller and smaller. Now these two have a higher probability of breaking to the downside. That is exactly what has happened here. Hopefully though, we can continue to hold this $220 level of support, which we did see back here as well. But this is something we need to keep a close eye on. Binance have said, the BNB chain have said they are ready to absorb that liquidation and help support the price, but we don't know what's in store there, so we do need to keep an eye on this. Let me know if you're a BNB holder in the chat. Also, please don't forget, if you are new here, to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button. We do these live streams every single weekday, and I really enjoy doing them. So the more you like, the more you comment, the more you share, the more users we get, And the more reason we can continue with these. We want to spread the word of crypto to as many people as possible, and we need your help to do so. So even if you just do a like, it will help us in the algorithm. Let's take a look at what else is happening here. So XRP on cusp of rare MACD signal that has previously preceded huge gains. Now, so XRP is in a state right now where we need to find out what's happening with this lawsuit. We've got some big news this week, but until then, we're all just sitting tight. Now, a lot of people have been saying, we're going to see a result from this in 2023. We've been saying this since December, January, and it seems that we are hearing more and more news about this. Some positive things being announced here, and we have also now seen the MACD crossover that we were looking for. So the bullish cross on the indicator occurs when the MACD line moves above the signal line while still below the zero line. So let's take a look at this, the monthly bullish cross of the MACD there. So you can see this has happened here. It has happened previously in September 2020. We saw a huge move to the upside of 717%, and it happened back in 2017. And when that happened, we saw a rise of 73,880%. So that is a very volatile market there, historically been a very bullish signal for XRP. Let me know if you're an XRP fan in the chat, because I know this divides the cryptocurrency community quite a lot. However, I believe what happens with the XRP and the Ripple lawsuit is setting a precedent with what can happen with the rest of cryptocurrency. So I am all for Ripple winning this lawsuit, and I will vouch for them until the very end, because I think that is a very important move for the cryptocurrency industry. And if it doesn't, that's another hurdle we've got to overcome. But if you're an XRP fan and you want to learn more about this article, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com, the best cryptocurrency news source out there. Everything on there is absolutely free, and all you need to do is press that big blue button, create an account there, and tick that box there to get access to our newsletter, which is normally, actually, you've got a second chance of this, normally is published every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. BST time, but today we are posting it this evening when all of this news has been announced. So to make sure you don't miss out on that, go to cryptosavingexpert.com and tick that box there when you create an account, and you'll get access to that as well. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. So a Chinese bank is the first financial institution to issue tokenized securities on Ethereum in Hong Kong. Look at what's happening here. China and Hong Kong are starting to adopt blockchain technology. They're trying to invite, Hong Kong especially, are trying to become a cryptocurrency hotspot. They're welcoming different cryptocurrency exchanges into the region, while the US is pushing them away. So what's happening is the cryptocurrency industry is just slowly moving from the US to Hong Kong. Now, the US, I believe, are going to really, really regret this in a few years' time, and they'll be chasing to catch up. But only time will tell us on that one. Let's see what else is going on here. We're on 39 likes. Please, somebody hit that like button and make it 40. I think this is the most likes we've ever got on one of these streams, so I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much to whoever just did that. Let's take a look at this next article here. Court dismisses BitGo's $100 million lawsuit against Galaxy Digital. So BitGo intends to appeal the court's decision as it believes Galaxy ended the merger agreement wrongfully. So the Delaware Court of Chancery has dismissed a $100 million lawsuit filed by digital asset custodian BitGo against crypto investment firm Galaxy Digital following the termination of an acquisition deal in 2022. So if you want to hear more about this, make sure to go to Crypto Saving Expert. Let's take a look at the next one here. We have Apple threatens to remove Twitter killer Damus over its Bitcoin tipping feature. So 4 months ago, Apple also removed Damus from its Chinese App Store amid regulatory reasons. So this is a really interesting one here. Now, tech giant Apple has threatened to remove the decentralized social media platform Damus from App Store unless it drops the Bitcoin tipping feature integrated on the app in compliance with its guidelines, the team disclosed on Twitter Tuesday. Now, so they've said here that Apple wrote in an email to Damus creators, we noticed that your app allows users to send tips associated with receiving content from digital content creators with a mechanism other than in-app purchase. So what happens here is Apple typically take a percentage of the fees and the payments that apps receive if they are downloaded through the App Store. So Damus is a decentralized social media platform, and Apple are looking to take this down. Now, these are the problems that we're facing here. Apple is a centralized company. They can censor different applications. This is why we have platforms like Ethereum with decentralized network, where we can launch any type of a decentralized application we wish, and not one single authority can just shut it down. But whilst we are using Apple and other centralized platforms and software, they can do what they want. If they want to take down this application, they can. It is built on the Ethereum network, but they're not taking down the whole application. They're just taking it off the Apple App Store. So until people fully move into decentralized networks, these are the problems that we face. The Damus team have said if people can't transact freely peer-to-peer on their platform, this has huge implications for the entire ecosystem of apps with Lightning integration and V4V. So if you're interested in this, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com. Now we do see here, obviously, that the US interest rate peak is at 4.9%. It has moved down to 4% today. We've seen a nice move to the downside today. Thankfully, the stream has been a good one. This is exactly what we wanted to see in terms of the 1 minute chart. Bitcoin's being incredibly volatile as always. It always is when the inflation data comes out and when the interest data comes out as well. So if you want to stay with us tomorrow when we go through the inflation data, the interest data, so we're going to hear if we have an interest rate hike tomorrow or not. We're going to be on the stream talking about that and the impacts it has on the price of Bitcoin. So make sure to tune back in tomorrow. Let's take a look quickly at the price of Bitcoin. Let's do some Bitcoin analysis here. Let's get rid of all these lines today because we are currently outside of that zone. So if we take a look at this on the 4-hour chart, you can see that we definitely have a level of resistance here. Now we have two really. We have one in this shorter time frame as well. So we could also draw this one here too. And we also have some levels of support here as well. I can draw this the whole way out. In fact, if we go on the daily chart, this is probably a lot clearer here. So if we take this point here and we take these points here, you can see we definitely have some level of support and resistance, and both of these are slanting to the downside. Now this is creating a descending wedge. A descending wedge has a higher probability of breaking to the upside than to the downside. So this is a higher probability that we're going to break this resistance before that support and see a move to the upside. Now this obviously isn't 100% of the time, but we're traders, we work on probability. And what we can see here though, which is kind of disappointing to me, is if we take a look at the volume here, what I like to see when we're in a wedge like this is I like to see the volume starting to increase. But right now, the volume is incredibly low. And especially with these lawsuits, it's just people are moving out the markets. And it's going to take a while for them to return, to be perfectly honest. And I have been saying this for a while here on these streams. We're not going to see what we saw at the start of the year over and over again. To see Bitcoin move up in these straight lines like this is brilliant, but it's not sustainable growth. We are going to see pullbacks. We're going to see some stability, and we are going to see some sideways action from time to time. Right now, if we take a look at the 4-year cycles, if we go to the weekly chart here and we go to, actually it's better if we go to the BTC USD on BUSD, there we go, on Bitstamp. If we go to the Bitcoin halving events, we can see here, if we take a look here, every single time there is a Bitcoin halving, we typically see a new all-time high being formed. Now, we don't have a new Bitcoin halving until April 2024. So this is around, let's get this on the chart, this is around here. So I'm not expecting personally, obviously nothing is financial advice, I'm not expecting to see a new all-time high prior to that Bitcoin halving. I'm expecting to see the after. And therefore, for me, that really puts a limit on how much upwards movement we could see within the next 6 months. With these SEC lawsuits as well, with Coinbase being sued and Binance being sued, I'm expecting to see some sluggish action here. I'm not expecting to see those big moves to the upside that a lot of people are expecting. Now, I might be wrong, but I'm just looking at history and seeing how history has repeated itself over and over again. So with that being said, I am expecting some sideways action here. On the flip side of that coin, I'm also looking at the markets right now, seeing that Coinbase have been sued, Binance have been sued, FTX has collapsed, UST is depegged, Voyager is gone, Celsius is gone. Honestly, the amount of things that have happened in the last year and a half have been crazy. We've seen all of these problems, yet Bitcoin is still up at $26,000. It's not down at $16,000 like it was back in December last year and November last year. So we are holding up pretty nicely. We do, I believe, have that sort of limit on the price, but we also have that sort of support on the price that we know that the markets are holding pretty strong. So what I'm expecting for the next 6 months may not be what you all want to hear, and that is just some sideways action here. I mean, we are going to get some volatility, but I'm not expecting huge movements unless something goes catastrophically wrong here. So we are just keeping an eye on the markets though, and we are keeping you up to date with our analysis here on these live streams. So if you are new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification button. I will be back tomorrow with more cryptocurrency news, but until then, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.